sign in.
And we are live on YouTube.
IG.
Hi guys,
Hey.
on both platforms. Today it's me, Dwayne, with the host,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
I've got my team with me. Today we're going on with boundaries in relationships. I think the title's with. So, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Hot, but
Oh,
good.
oh, do you know what?
Bim's back at it.
Oh,
Temperature wise, just
Came in, was
clarify.
like, guys, I'm hot. And it was like, thanks. Also got Tolu behind the cameras again.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Oh, okay, what was that?
That was
You
very
know,
deep.
It was
You know,
my
he's trying to do
sexy
me.
voice.
He's trying to do a me.
Okay, Dwayne. I actually heard that like a few seconds later.
All right, guys. So let's jump straight into it.
I mean, I'm okay too.
I asked you that. You didn't answer straight away. It was your choice
Not to
question.
answer. Like, what is that? I beg, please move on, Dwayne. What is
You have
that?
anything to say?
Update us.
Move on, Dwayne.
All right, cool.
It's weird only seeing these two over there, though.
So yeah, we're gonna start off with trying to figure out the boundaries within relationships, and let's start trying to find out what is the definition of a boundary to you guys. Like, where are we going with this? What, like, in any relationship, or just the full on definition? Because we got the Wikipedia definition of.
Oh, that's not what you're looking for.
But I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for your definition of a boundary.
I mean,
Of
that
an,
was gonna
of
go
an
with the.
effective boundary.
Yes,
Of an effective boundary.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just change the question.
Innit?
It's a whole different question.
Well, you wanted to give us a definition of an ineffective boundary.
No, just
No,
a boundary.
of a boundary,
What is a boundary?
not an effective one.
Not an effective one, because then we have
That's
to
a
go into
different
examples.
question.
That's a different question. What's an
Okay.
effective boundary is now you give an example.
Okay,
surely,
so
yeah?
let's go with a boundary
All right,
first,
fine,
and then
fine.
Tolu can add a little bit extra sauce on it if he wants.
As he does. Yeah, go for it. What's your definitions?
Oh, I thought one of you guys were gonna say.
Dead air is rubbish air.
You know when, like, in school they ask you questions and you're just like, I don't know.
We had the thing is we had the conversation
know.
off
Yeah,
air.
yeah.
So I guess sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Right, now everybody wants to talk.
We're not ready today, right? Let's reset.
It's the heat. It's the
Oh
heat.
my
Do you want to
goodness.
go, Ted?
Sorry, Tolu, can you pin the question, please? I've written it down. We're being asked on Instagram.
Oh, hi, and Hannah. I
Hey,
literally saw
Hannah.
Hannah like
Hi, Hannah.
an hour ago.
Really?
Yeah. She came to my church
Oh.
Your church? Where's
Yeah.
your church?
in Romford.
Oh.
We had a thing this weekend.
Oh.
I know Hannah from like South Africa days.
Wait. Oh no, different.
Oh, we're not.
Oh, this is.
Hannah.
Oh, I
Hannah.
thought what you were talking about.
I
Hannah.
was about to say
Hannah.
to Rachel. I think it's a
I
different
was
Hannah.
like,
but I
what?
was wrong. It is a different
Yeah,
Hannah.
yeah.
It is not the Hannah that I thought. Hi, Hannah from South Africa days.
Hey, Rachel again, she says.
Oh, hey.
So I mean, oh no, sorry, Pim, you were gonna go, right? Go.
Oh my
Go.
God.
You go.
I was just gonna say, a boundary to me is like, this is the line. Don't cross it.
Yeah.
And if you do cross it, there will be repercussions.
Oh wow.
In simple terms.
But what,
Okay.
what line? I don't. What do you mean by?
So where is
You
that
draw
line?
the
As in,
line.
this is how far it goes. This is what I will tolerate up to this point. Past this point, I'm not going to tolerate it. That's the boundary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe basically what she said.
So it's something that your partner is doing that you do not want. You won't condone.
I don't think it's
No,
necessarily
it's not
what your
that they're
partner doing.
It's because that's them doing it. It's you setting.
So I
Okay,
think.
Okay, go on.
It's okay, guys. We need to like get in sync. Go. You finish your sentence.
I was gonna say that it's not so much that they're doing something, is that you want to prevent them from doing something that you might not like, or you don't necessarily agree with them doing, and something that's affecting you. something that you don't want to affect you, because it's really you setting the boundary. So it's something that you don't want them to do, essentially.
Yeah.
You don't want them to pass the line that you mentioned, that line. So you say, okay, I don't want you to do this thing because past this, you know, now we're in funny waters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's not get into those dirty waters. Let's stay here on the beach.
Okay.
I like that.
I like that. I like
Use
that.
that. Let's stay on the
Stay
beach.
on
Stay
the
on the
beach.
beach.
Yeah.
Don't go in
Okay,
that
so
water.
can you guys give examples?
I was gonna say, just to add to that, I don't necessarily think it's always about. I guess it is about like what the other person does, but oftentimes your boundaries are founded in sort of your principles as well. So you might have certain principles that you live by, and if people do things that challenges that or disrespects those principles, then they have crossed the boundary. So yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
So I totally wanted example.
Like personal to you guys, if you don't mind. Like, what are some boundaries that you would put in a relationship or indeed a marriage?
I have one that may be unpopular opinion,
Let's put it out there. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
or
That's what it is.
maybe a bit like unrealistic, but I don't like being shouted at, and especially in a relationship.
Why is that
I
unpopular?
That's a
No.
I know,
because
yeah.
I feel
That's
like
pretty
some
standard.
people feel like that's a part of, like, a natural part of,
Wow.
you know, when you get
Some
into a
people do.
disagreement,
Sheesh. Yeah.
Shout.
you
No.
shout, I
No,
shout.
but the thing is,
Right?
Ooh.
I
No.
don't really like that. Is a boundary for me. Like,
Don't shout
don't
at
raise
me.
your voice at me.
Yeah.
We
But I
can
think
have
that's
a
just-
disagreement, but we can respectfully do it in our normal adult voices.
yeah, because in my relationship itself, we don't. I don't say we shout at each other. If we've got a disagreement, we'll talk it out, but we'll never ever
Raise your voice.
raise your voice. 'Cause I think I've most probably raised my voice and seen the scared, and it's like I don't like that, and that was an internal boundary that I set for myself that I don't want to. I don't like ever getting angry. If you know me for years, I've always had a mad temper, like from when I was little, and it was getting older and moving into just everyday life. You kind of like have to even set a boundary within work. So I worked in hotels and stuff where I was customer facing. You end up getting someone that annoys you, and you kind of have to create that. I don't want to make myself. I don't want to basically shame my family
Yeah.
out on the streets. And there's points where you kind of get to that point and you're like, oh, and you gotta hold it back. But inside of my relationship, I've always tried to keep it like, if it is angry, as you say, you don't like to be shouted at, I would pull myself away from that situation and walk away,
Right.
and
right.
then I'll calm
yeah.
down and come back and have a heated conversation, but not too heated that it's
It's
crazy.
now shouting.
But yeah, no, that's a great boundary to set. A boundary? Can I call it a boundary?
I think it is a boundary.
I thought it was
it's
more
You have
like
to
a-
teach
the thing is,
people
I
how.
think it's similar to Dwayne, like, because we're loud in my
Yeah.
family. Like, I'm mad
Yeah.
loud. So when Steph and I have discussions, I get loud sometimes. Like, I don't think I'm not shouting. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know when you're trying to shout at someone,
Yeah.
I'm not
You
doing
just get
that.
passionate.
just
But
talking.
I'm loud
Yeah.
and I'm arguing with you. And like the one time Steph was like, I'm leaving, I'm going, like, because I got loud. And that really like hurt me. Like, I'm not shouting at you. But like Dwayne, I've learned that like that's something that she can't handle.
Yeah.
So that's a boundary that, I can't do that. Even if we were doing, because it's taken a different way. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, so yeah, I think that's a really good one.
That
to
is
be
a
honest.
good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
like how you said a boundary for yourself, because I think when we were describing what a boundary is, we were really talking. We mentioned it and like externally, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily within ourselves. So yeah, it's true. We do set boundaries within ourselves. I think one for me is name calling. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. We don't do name calling. If you wanna talk, fine. But in a relationship, don't be calling me names.
Don't call
I'm
out
not
my
calling
name.
you names.
Yeah.
Don't, like is in with anger, you know.
Yeah,
You might say coconut head, but that's one thing, banter, you know. But don't now be calling me out my name as they say, right?
Yeah,
No
it's true.
swearing. Don't
Don't
swear at me. Don't
Yeah.
swear at me.
Yeah,
That's
a
not
big one,
running.
yeah.
Do not.
I thought that's just the thing is most of these that we're coming up with is kind of like just lines that a good partner should do.
Yeah,
really.
I get
truly.
you. I get you.
But even still, in the comments, if you guys have got like your own boundaries and you want us to read them out, let us know.
yeah,
Hit us up
that's
in the
good.
comments.
Can I
We
ask
do
a
have
question?
a comment
Oh.
from N. Richards saying, we don't have boundaries, we have respect.
That's
Oh.
it.
That's it.
No, but,
Thank
Which is
you.
a good
but
point.
which you know, behind the scenes, I was talking to you about marriage, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's more along those lines because what I wanted to ask you guys is, what do you do if someone crosses these boundaries that you're talking about in a marriage? Because that's for me still is the thing. Like, because I thought, Steph, no, even if I shout at you, you don't say I'm going. You know, you don't do that. Like, that's not an effective response in a marriage.
But you learn from it though.
Sure, but that's
So what's
praise.
effective?
I'm just saying, praise God that I decided to respond in the right way, because that could have gone
That could have gone left.
wrong.
But again,
Yeah.
you decided to respond in the right way because you respect her.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Well, you
Right,
don't respect
okay.
each
No,
other.
it
Hear
is
me,
because
hear
of
me.
that.
But what was driving you to respond then?
Huh?
What was driving you to actually take on board her reaction in that moment?
Because I didn't want my wife to take my children and go away. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
But
that
didn't
was
you also think about the fact that you were shouting?
no, because I wasn't shouting, and that's my point. My
But
point
she
is,
perceived you as shouting.
and that's my point.
Yeah.
In a marriage, don't be going off perceptions, because you're making a big decision here that could not. If Steph had actually walked out that door, that would have been a boundary for me. If you walk out the door when we're having an argument, for me, I will find that difficult to come back from. So
Wait, hold
Wait,
on.
wait,
Hold on. Wait,
While
wait,
she
wait,
was
wait.
shouting, are you telling me that she didn't say stop shouting? During the entire time that you were shouting.
Yeah, Steph
Are you
has
telling
come
me?
up in here. Steph came in here.
Steph is in the
no, she
building.
didn't tell me to stop shouting.
Are
She
you
said,
sure?
don't shout at me, and then she said she's going.
And then when she said don't shout at me,
Steph is not happy.
Disclaimer.
The
Wait.
boundary you just crossed with
Clarify.
Steph.
Let me clarify.
so she said
She
don't
didn't say-
shout.
she
You
didn't
now
say
shouted
she's-
again
She didn't
and
say
crossed the
she's
boundary
going.
she set.
She didn't say she's going. She said she's just going to her dad's house.
Oh,
Big difference.
But
Exactly.
for
But
me,
still
that's the
going
same
to your
thing.
dad's
What is
house.
that?
That-
Wait, hold on. Wait, guys,
That's
wait.
big.
You crossed
She
her
needed some
boundary in
time.
that same
Wait, hold
exact
on.
combo.
Wait, hold on. Wait,
You
wait.
crossed her boundary in that exact
No, but the thing is-
conversation, right?
Which
But
is why
was
she
it- no,
said,
but
Which
was
is
it
why
wrong?
she now
No.
reacted the way
But
she
this is
reacted.
what I'm saying to you. In a marriage, I don't think that is an appropriate reaction.
Wait,
It's
hold
your
on. Wait.
boundary.
Wait. So, can I just so basically, you as Tad said, you crossed the boundary. All right, cool. You crossed the boundary that Steph had internally set for herself, that I would not accept this from my husband, of him shouting. She deemed that you were shouting at that point, and she was like, I've got to remove myself from this situation.
Yeah.
And she stepped away. She didn't. She said, "I'm going to my dad's house," as she just said.
She was just like,
And
she's leaving forever.
no. She said, "I'm leaving, going to my dad's house." Cool. She didn't say she's leaving you. She's removing herself from the conversation.
I'm sorry to say.
But do you
like,
not
the
think
same-
that's more?
the
Wait, do you
same
not
way-
think that's more effective than you guys ending up saying things
No,
that you will
because the
regret? If she
reason
removes
why-
herself
no,
from
no,
the
no, no, no.
situation,
That's not what was happening, because I say that to Steph. Like, whenever we're about to go into an argument, and I can even just perceive the argument, I say, babe, I want to stop talking. And she says, nah, when we're like this, when I feel like this, we've had this conversation, Tadayo.
That would be me.
Tadayo, like, Steph wants to keep having the conversation. So that's not what was happening. What was happening was, you shouted at me. I'm not going to take that. I'm out of here. You don't dare shout at me. So that's a different thing. And I don't think that that's an appropriate... I
yeah,
don't
but
think that that's
this
an
is
appropriate...
why you
can't-
talk
you
about
cannot-
that's her own personal
Exactly.
boundary.
You
But that's
can't
just-
dictate
no,
how
because
somebody acts after you've crossed the boundary.
I'm saying for wisdom in marriage. That's what I'm talking about here. Wisdom in marriage. You do not react like that. If she had gone to her father's house and her father asked her, why are you here? And then she explains to him why she's there. It starts to become something else over me raising my voice, me not even wanting to shout at you. So for me, boundary that I put in my marriage.
You're
But she
shouting.
perceived that as shouting.
Exactly. I'm shouting right
Yeah.
now. Are you guys scared? Exactly.
I am.
You guys can decide that you want to go to your mom's house right
No,
now.
but Tolu,
I-
that's not the
no,
same
no,
thing.
it's
It's
different.
not the
It's
same
different.
thing.
When it's a
100%
heated
not the
conversation,
same.
it's different.
Guys, I'm actually
100%
trying to
not
tell
the
you. I'm
same.
actually trying to give you wisdom. That is a
You,
boundary.
no, you can't
That
say you're
is a
trying to give us
boundary that you
wisdom.
should set.
Tolu, that is
That is
your
a
boundary, and I
That
think
is
that's the
not my
difference. It is
boundary.
your
It's
boundary. It
different.
is
Guys,
your
we're getting-
That is
boundary.
now your
there's too
boundary.
many.
That's
too many
actually
voices.
your boundary, right? You can't dictate how, because you see, the thing is that she set the boundary. When you set boundaries, like depending on how it was a boundary that she made right there and then. You now crossed it. She didn't even think that she would now react the way that she reacted, but she did. So you cannot blame her reaction for the boundary that you crossed instantly as she said it. And then she now said, and now you had your boundary too.
Wait,
so
wait,
it's
wait.
a battle
Sorry.
of boundaries.
Can I just
But you
clarify?
people now know
Wait,
your
wait.
boundaries.
Can I just, because this
It's
is
true.
why I asked, how do you define an effective boundary?
Did you go and
Because
Google?
in that
Oh.
circumstance,
He's been listening to people.
I've been listening to people.
Gurus,
I do my
by the way.
research
Oh
for
yeah,
the
he said
podcast.
gurus.
This is why I asked you to define an effective boundary, because that boundary had never been set.
Yeah,
we had
and
never
now
had a
it-
conversation.
now-
That's where
and
the
now it is.
conversation
Yeah,
comes in.
exactly.
Like you
Now
need to
it's a
talk it out
conversation.
between
Let me
your
finish.
spouse.
So this is what I'm saying to you. For a boundary to be an effective boundary and for you to react to that boundary effectively, you need to have communicated that boundary and communicated the consequences of that boundary. What was happening in that situation was a reaction based on feelings. And I'm saying you don't react based on feelings to that extent in a marriage. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
I get what you're saying about boundary if it had been set as a boundary. And like I started this saying, now I know
Yeah.
not to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
the boundary has been effectively
Yes.
set. But in that moment, and this is what a lot of people do, that I think they say they have boundaries, but they haven't communicated it in any way. Their
Right.
behavior
I don't think
hasn't demonstrated it in any way. What is happening is someone has said something to you that has upset you, and all of a sudden that becomes a boundary.
But you know,
Which I think
sometimes you don't
that's how
actually
boundaries
know
come
that.
about. You don't know your boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until you have been
I
in
think
that
that's
situation,
how-
sometimes you don't know how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to trigger you. And
Yeah.
then it becomes a boundary
Now
that you
it's
then
a
think
boundary.
becomes a
about.
boundary.
Yes.
That's fine.
But that's-
Yes.
No, but in that
but I
moment,
think
you
it's
guys
really
had never
important.
been to that at that point.
Exactly.
So,
So
now
this
it's
is what
there.
I'm saying. Like that, I
do
completely
agree
get.
with you that yes, if you set that as in a marriage, because you're trying to say to us, yeah, this happened, but now I'm trying to tell you what I've learned from this is actually in a marriage, no one should ever walk out. That's what you're saying, right?
That's my
Fine,
boundary.
which is fine,
Exactly, it's
which
a
is
boundary.
fine. I can dig that. But as Rachel just said, you don't always know. And that was one of the things I was gonna actually say is I don't know if I know what all of my boundaries
Yeah.
actually are
You
because
probably
I haven't
don't.
been
You
in
haven't
all
experienced
situations
everything.
yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you know, some people have it right. No, cool. Don't call me after 10 o'clock. I don't have all of those kinds of boundaries yet. I set some boundaries for myself the way that I behave towards some certain people.
Yeah.
There's some relationships so I was speaking to my friend who is married, and I was gonna return one of his calls, but it now ended up being like after 9 or something, like almost 10 o'clock. It wasn't Tolu, because I would just call Tolu, right?
yeah.
Because that's my dude, right? But with this other friend's relationship, I said, you know what? It's past 9. I'm not calling you because you could be sitting down with your wife,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna cross that boundary. I'm
Yeah.
setting this boundary, even if you think that it's okay. Because he was like, it's not that deep. You could have just called. I'm like, no. It's getting late. Like, it's time that you would be with your wife right now. You know what I mean? Like, let's set boundaries. I'm not gonna call you after a certain time. Like, it's
Yeah.
fine. We can speak tomorrow. It's not deep. You know? So that's kind of the boundaries that I'm I've been setting.
You know, sometimes even when I want to call Tolu at a certain time, I'll call Steph instead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
and then
I
I'll
get
talk to
that.
both of you.
Yeah. The thing is, anytime I call Tolu now, usually I'm expecting Steph to be about, and I want to just speak to the both of them because
Yeah,
I want to gist
yeah.
them both. So, but yeah.
I agree with N. Richards, by the way.
No, of
in the
course you do.
comments.
Of course you do.
He says,
We've got some on
I don't know if it's a
Instagram
he or
too.
she, but
No,
they.
it's Nigel. It's
Oh, okay.
Nigel again.
Nigel
Yeah.
says, sometimes I'm like
I
that. The
agree with the
shouting
guy
is
behind the
passion.
camera.
Shouting is in when I'm explaining myself.
That's it. That's
I
it.
think you need to communicate that to your spouse,
I did.
like
I
well
did.
before you
No,
get
but
to
that's the
that
thing. That's-
heightened
this is-
point.
Seen it.
This is one of the questions that I've got as well. Is like that we came up with is that is boundaries set before marriage? Is that where you could like before or after marriage? Like your boundaries. Should you have before you set your boundaries in marriage? Like before you get married, should you already have in place boundaries?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
I
know
think so.
that
You can have
okay, look,
some,
Some, yeah.
some,
Yeah.
Nah,
because some others you
yeah,
won't
you've
know
got the big
until you're
ones.
now
You've got the big
married,
ones
innit?
like don't see anyone else. Like,
You would hope.
I'm
I
the
would
only
hope
one.
that
Pretty
that's
big
in place.
boundary.
yeah, those
Pretty
sort of
big
boundaries.
one.
Yeah.
Pam, you are very tolerant. If these are the boundaries that you lot are setting in your relationship,
If we don't write them down, we don't know.
more
Okay,
power
no,
to
okay.
you. No, but I think Dwayne
That's
makes
so
a good
funny.
point.
Yeah,
Again, just
do.
want to go back to like setting of an effective boundary. Because I think your point that you made a moment ago, like, I don't know what my boundaries are. But then you said the way I behave with some people shows it. And I think this guru I was listening to, like, she gave like 3 steps. And the first step is you actually need to believe in your boundary. Like, you actually need to be about it, because then you exude it. Like, you actually, people see you and they know, no, I don't do this around Tolu. I don't do this around Tadayo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's not the type of person they are. But some people put boundaries, as like I gave the example joking, like when we're all sex before marriage, if you're trying not to do that, you might put the boundary in place, but
I was
still
not here.
in the relationship,
doing
you know what you're
bits.
doing.
You're
You know what you're
doing
doing.
bits.
Do you know what I'm
You're doing
saying?
bits.
Yeah,
Doing
yeah,
bits.
yeah.
You said one thing, but your behavior is telling you
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is not an
yeah.
effective boundary. Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
of course.
So when things start to go left, you can't now start hyping at the other person. You're not listening to my boundary. You're not listening to my...
Yeah.
Which people do. I've experienced that. But...
Why did you say
You guys should have laughed. Now it's
guy,
serious.
bro.
Now it's serious. But anyway.
I gave you a chuckle, bro. I gave you a chuckle, fam.
Just went,
Anyways, so I'm saying, like, I think it's so important that you define and you understand that you can defend it and you are clear about it. The second part we've already talked about, you have to communicate it. If you don't communicate, I don't think you can legitimately.
Enforce it.
I'm sorry.
Steph is not happy.
I asked you before.
Okay,
the show.
This is
you're
the
crossing
boundary.
a boundary,
This is a
Tolu.
boundary.
Let's
This is
come
a
back.
boundary.
Let's
and it's
come
a
back.
boundary with
Let's come back.
Okay, anyways.
That reminded me of the guy on the news channel.
Oh, gosh. Again,
Wow.
we've got the giggles today.
It's the heat. It's the heat. It's the heat.
It's getting to us.
Good Dwayne.
Don't even- Everything just got a bit blurry, but yeah.
Well, I hadn't said my third point.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry,
That's
sorry.
where we're at.
From
That's
your
where we're
Yeah.
at.
Said
Sorry.
you're crossing a boundary, bro.
No, that was just an example.
Yes.
that
Third point,
Be careful.
I'm not crossing the boundary. I know my wife. Jeez, you guys.
No, you are crossing the boundary.
No, I am
She
not
has
crossing the
communicated
boundary.
that
Yeah,
you're
just
crossing a
we know.
boundary.
This is
Communicated
another-
the
this is-
boundary
no,
to you.
no,
We
no.
have as well.
No,
as
but
well.
she said
She
it.
just
Many
said
times.
it.
It's not a boundary. Oh my
But
gosh.
if she
You guys-
told you.
This is very
Ah.
interesting.
Wait, wait.
Because you said we should
Interesting.
communicate
You guys-
our boundaries.
no, you
She's
guys-
just done that.
No, she
And you're
hasn't.
still willing
to go
ahead.
No.
No,
You
but,
guys-
wait.
wait. We
Wait.
have actually communicated this boundary. We've even said
You
set this
cannot
boundary for yourself.
communicate the boundary
We've
on
even
behalf
told
of
you.
me and Steph.
She
You
just
don't
did
know.
it.
And I'm telling you, you don't know our relationship. If I tell you that we've got something going on that you don't understand, respect that.
Yeah, but isn't this you then not like you're not listening? No,
because I'm telling
Tolu.
you, I have conversations with my wife after every episode where you guys tell me I've crossed a boundary.
But Tolu,
and
wait.
The reason I can come back and
You're
do the
shouting.
same
Tolu,
thing
stop
is
shouting.
because she
You're
doesn't
shouting.
actually mind.
You're
But if,
shouting.
if she's just walked
You're
in the room,
shouting.
she's never walked in the room before and
She
said you
has.
crossed
Shouting.
boundaries.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
You're shouting.
I will
I
be
don't,
better.
I don't want an apology from you. It's not
Why
my
are you
business.
keeping on
It's
on?
not
Why are
my
you keeping on
business.
about it?
But we're watching out for you, bro,
Yeah, no.
because
Got
your
this.
wife said.
Don't worry.
I don't
You're
want you
crossing
to
the
get
boundary.
cheated after the show.
All right. Carry on doing. You guys didn't let me say my third point.
No,
Let me
say
finish.
the third point.
It's not.
We actually were waiting for your third
done.
point.
You guys have
then
crossed
he-
my
Try
boundary.
shouting.
You crossed my
But
boundary.
Tolu,
Go,
people
go,
need
go.
to learn.
Dwayne,
You can't
Dwayne,
leave
go.
them
Dwayne, go.
hanging.
Yeah.
Dwayne, go.
Tolu,
Some
stop-
people are
stop-
taking notes and
give
they
us-
want the third point.
Yeah, give us the
Third
third
point.
point.
The third point is you have to follow through, and that's
Right.
exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
links this what you guys are talking about
Okay.
here, because the follow through actually is important. If you are not following through, you do not believe in that boundary.
Question: when you're setting the boundary,
Yeah,
do
that's
you have to
something, yeah.
have a thing that says, if you cross this boundary, this is what's going to happen?
100%.
When you
That's
say
a boundary.
when you set the boundary, you say,
Repercussion.
I don't need this. If this happens,
Or
this is what
consequence.
This is gonna be the consequence of this happening.
Do you
1,000.
always set up
Okay.
a repercussion?
There has to be. How
don't
is it?
think that-
How is it a
but
boundary if there is no
but
Then if it
I'm
consequence?
says
not
black
saying-
and white
I'm
as that.
I'm not saying that there isn't a repercussion, but I don't think you always tell the person what the repercussion
And that's
is.
an ineffective boundary
Why?
set.
Because
I
when
would
you
say.
cross it, you'll know what the repercussion is. Like I don't
No,
understand.
that's not.
What if you
that's not
don't?
an effective
Because
boundary.
I can't tell you how I'm going to react in
That's
that
what I was gonna ask
moment.
now.
Then that boundary doesn't mean anything.
So
to
wait,
you.
hold on
That's
a
not
second.
true.
Wait,
No,
wait.
that's not
Not
true.
necessarily.
No.
That's not true.
Not
No, just
necessarily.
because
you can
I don't
say-
know how I'm going. Every
You
single
don't-
time you cross
yeah.
that boundary, I might react differently.
Yeah.
But there is still a repercussion, and I still react to it. So for me, I can't say definitively this is how I'm going to
Okay.
react
Yeah.
in this
Wait, can I
moment.
tell you?
You can
wait, so
say,
can I tell you
what
what
if
you're
you-
doing? Wait, can I tell you what you're doing there? You are
Ooh, this light is
reacting to
popping.
something that has hurt you, or like you are reacting as a human being with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference with how we react to things we don't like, and I'm setting a boundary.
So
Like,
are you saying that setting a boundary for cheating is not a
specific
boundary?
thing that we are talking about? Reacting to things that are annoying that people
No.
do in relationships is a completely different thing.
So totally wait. If you set a boundary for, I don't tolerate cheating. My boundary is that cheating cannot run.
As you should.
Right? Okay. So if you set that, if the person now cheats, you will obviously have an emotional reaction because that's
There's nothing wrong
why
with it.
you
So what
set
I'm
the
telling
boundary
you is
because
you
you
just
wanted
said
to
there's nothing
avoid
wrong with
having
it.
that.
So when
but you
you-
might not know. Wait. You might not know exactly. You might say, "I'm gonna dip," or it'll be fine, or whatever. I don't know if anyone says it's gonna be fine, but you don't necessarily know exactly what your reaction would be to this person crossing the line, right?
Can I tell you
So
that is
how do
exactly
you
the
now-
reason why a lot of people are being cheated on repeatedly with no consequence. Because you said, if you cheat on me, this is a boundary. The person does it. You don't dip. You don't do anything. The person's going to do it again because they've seen that the first time that they cross this boundary, my child does this. You tell her if you don't do something, she will still go and she will look at you in the eye as she's doing it in slow motion to see if there is something going to happen
If the
after
repercussion's
I do
gonna
that
happen.
thing. If nothing happens, she will do that
Yeah,
thing and
yeah.
she will do
I-
it
I
again
get-
and
I
again.
get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
So you need to have a reaction if you want it to be
if you
an
want to put it
effective
there, you have
boundary.
to have a.
Exactly.
You have to
Just
decide
like-
within yourself.
Just
what-
like with the
okay.
shouting situation, I've seen the repercussion.
Mm-hmm.
What will happen if I do that again? So I won't do that again.
Okay,
This
I get you.
example that you guys have just given, my wife coming in here shouting, I have seen what doesn't happen. So that is not an effective boundary. No, I'm
Wait,
I'm
so her
genuinely-
saying
saying
you're
that
crossing
it's
a
okay?
boundary
Guys,
is not an
guys,
effective
guys,
boundary.
So Steph, you
I'm
know what
trying
you need to do.
I'm trying to actually tell you that situation is not a
Totally
boundary
scared
for
for a
her. Because if it was a boundary for her, there would be consequences. It might be I'm not saying she's not unhappy that I'm doing it, blah 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 blah. But what I'm saying, that's why I'm saying we need to get the difference between something that affects your emotions and something that is a boundary. A boundary is
Boundaries
if you
do
cross
affect
this
your
line.
emotions, though. So
I'm not
why are you
agreeing with that.
separating it?
I'm just trying to say, okay,
'Cause
on
it
top
does.
on top of the emotion,
But
there has to be
the repercussion could be you're weakening the trust between you and your spouse. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah,
But
black
it's true
and
because
white.
Yes, it
that
can
is-
be.
Because now they can't
No,
trust
but
you
that
the
is a
same way
repercussion.
because
No,
you've
but-
crossed a certain
Yes,
boundary.
that's a
Sure,
that's
okay,
a,
I
that's
understand
a, that is.
Okay, well, guys, the
Sorry.
objective of a boundary, the objective of a boundary is to prevent someone from doing a behavior that you don't want them to do. Doing it the way you've just described is not an effective way of managing people's behavior. That's what I'm saying. I'm not all the things you guys are saying. People do that. It's not effective. Like the science shows it. That's not effective if you're trying to get someone
Great, it's
to
not.
change their
Okay.
behaviors. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. There's a difference between putting effective boundaries in place and just wishy-washy boundaries that are just about how I feel in the moment.
But they are also how you feel in the moment.
But
too.
also,
So-
like,
I'm not arguing
but
that.
Tolu, I
I'm
don't
just-
No,
understand.
I'm
I
just
feel like
saying.
negative reinforcement works like both ways. Even if you do set out a clear boundary, or a clear repercussion, if it, on the flip side, if you don't set out a clear repercussion and you still have a negative response to that thing that your partner can see is actually hurting you, any partner who loves you, who respects you, will take into account that consideration because it's still negative reinforcement. I do this, it hurts my
Rachel,
partner.
yes.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand.
And
Wait,
that is
sorry,
a
sorry,
repercussion.
sorry.
That is a repercussion.
Understand me. You are describing how a loving relationship should occur. In that example you've just given, the other person didn't set a boundary. I'm looking at this very technically.
What do you mean?
A
Ju-
bound-
I have set a
No,
boundary. I don't
no,
understand.
You haven't.
Why do you
There's
keep
a-
saying
Why?
no, you
Why?
haven't?
Because I haven't explicitly
like
told
you.
you that there's no way. Because I haven't explicitly told you that this is a repercussion. You're saying I haven't set a boundary. That doesn't make
That's
sense.
not
That
to
doesn't
me.
make any
You
sense.
guys, you keep
Boundary.
saying that
No,
it's
but-
not.
And you're
boundary.
crossing
You
this
keep
line. It's a
saying
line
it's a
I
line.
don't want
that
you to
you've
cross.
crossed.
It's the line.
Wait, hold on. Wait,
Your
wait, wait,
tolerance
wait.
line.
Can we go
That's
back
the
to the
boundary.
beginning? We found
Tolu's
out that a
listening to his
boundary
gurus and now
itself is
he's like-
a defined line between in and out. In and out of a certain area. If you're in that area, you've crossed the boundary. Have you not?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the thing. You don't have to. No, but you don't have to.
So what happens if I go into that area?
You're going to hurt
Yeah,
this
but this is
person
what-
by going
okay,
into
wait,
it.
can
You're
I just
hurting
clarify?
yourself.
Always just
Can I
black.
just
know you're
clarify?
saying it like it's black and white.
No,
Right,
no, wait,
yeah,
can I
and
just
it's
clarify?
not.
There's
It's not
a
always
difference
like that.
between me saying I've set a boundary and you cross that boundary and I don't react anyway when you cross that boundary, or I'm okay with it when you cross that boundary. That's completely different. That's not what I'm saying, and I think that's what you're hearing. I'm saying you have crossed this boundary, but before you've crossed this boundary, I haven't communicated to you what the repercussions of that is. You crossing that boundary in this time and moment, I'm still reacting to it. I'm still reacting negatively to it. I just haven't told you beforehand. If it's different, there's a difference between me reacting negatively and not communicating to you, and you crossing that boundary and me saying that it's okay. That's not what I'm doing, and I think
Okay,
we're on
I
the
hear
same
you.
page. It's
Yeah,
just that
I
I
hear
haven't told you beforehand.
Yeah, I hear you.
And you being upset can be the repercussion. If you
Yeah.
cross this boundary, I'm gonna be upset. I feel like you
Okay,
being
but-
upset is
Yeah.
enough of a.
If you
Yeah,
love the
thing.
person, you hurt the
What I'm just
person.
saying-
Then
Yeah.
boom.
What I'm just saying
This
is
is
like,
in a
okay, I
relationship
think
though,
the
yeah.
reality of the world is like the reason why we want to learn this principle is because you might be in a situation where there's someone who's perpetually like crossing a line, right? That's
And
why,
hurting the other
and hurting
person.
the other person. Like that's the reality. That's why so many people are unhappy in their marriages, in their relationships. A lot of people, they get hurt by something. They communicate they're hurt by that thing, but the thing never changes. And I'm saying if you want that cycle to end, you need to actually you need to act upon
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
no,
sense.
absolutely.
So that's
100%,
all I
yes.
meant when I said it's not an effective boundary if all you're being is hurt, but you're not actually changing your
Yes.
behavior towards that person.
Yeah.
100%.
You can't control that person's actions. All you can control is
It's
your
you.
actions.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've made a choice that if you do this thing, I will no longer do X, Y, Z. That's the only thing you can do. But by being upset, you're hoping that that's going to make them change their behavior. that's not effective. You can only control what you can do. That's what
I mean,
I'm
it
saying.
can be effective because
It
you
can
definitely,
be.
you
There's-
definitely change.
It can be, yeah.
So
If
it can
in
be
a healthy
in a healthy,
relationship-
loving relationship.
in a healthy,
it
loving,
can
but
be.
like
You know that
Nigel
it's
said,
not always like.
but like Nigel said, in a healthy, loving relationship, there's mutual respect.
Yeah.
Who's Nigel?
The
Comment.
Oh, sorry. I was like, because you were like this. I was like, sorry. Hi,
But yeah.
Nigel.
Do you know,
So
that
we have
reminds
got
me of
comments
a,
here too, by the way.
a saying. I don't know if it's a proverb, but a saying that says, "Whatever you tolerate, you cannot change." I think that's what you're saying. Like, as long as you
Yeah.
tolerate it,
I like
As long as you
that.
it's
tolerate
gonna
it,
keep
it's going
going
to go
on and
It
on
will.
and on.
It's true. It does.
Yeah.
That makes
And you know,
perfect sense.
we've had this conversation in the. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like,
Yeah.
we talked about being nice in a relationship where there might be a perception that you're too nice. I've had one of
We
the
have had this
one of the
conversation many
gurus I was
times.
listening to.
Why
was
do you keep
saying-
using the word
These gurus, man.
He was saying, like, that's actually so. What is happening there? You're not being too nice. We should never come against
Teach me.
good behavior. Like, if you're being nice or kind, that's never a bad thing. What you're missing is effective boundaries.
Okay.
I get
Be
you.
I like
who
that.
you are,
Okay.
but define what the lines are of overstepping
Yeah.
or taking advantage, and then enact those things. But you be who you are, So I just thought that was really effective.
Effective.
We've
yeah.
got a comment here from Steph saying, "You don't always know what the repercussion is going to be because you don't know what's going to happen when the line is crossed. E.g., if your boundary is no sex before marriage, you don't plan for the boundary to be crossed. So how can you set a repercussion?" That's a
That
good
is one of the
question.
questions
that.
that we've
I like that.
we've got as well. Like, as in, because one, you don't know all your boundaries, do you?
Hmm.
You can't, if you haven't lived it, you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah, because it's all
So it's
theoretical until you
It is
actually
theoretical
It's like,
until
experience.
it's crossed.
you know the major
Yeah.
ones, you know the ones that you've seen
Yeah.
everybody go through, but the ones that you haven't heard people go through, do you know that if that is a boundary that you want to have?
Yeah.
Because maybe prior, our partners didn't realize, maybe I don't like being shouted at. They that was never a boundary.
Never been a thing before.
That was never
Yeah.
their boundary prior, until the point of where we have shouted at them and
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh my days, this is
I
a
actually
whole
don't
new
like this.
feeling.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Mm.
I've just found this new boundary."
Yeah.
And before that, you've never had someone your partner's never walked away from you and gone, "I'm stepping out of the house. I need to go away and think about how I feel." And
Yeah,
now
you're like,
that's a boundary that has popped up in
You're
Yeah.
yours
Yeah.
as well. And
Yeah.
now you're
Yeah.
like, "No, but you're crossing
Yeah.
a boundary of mine, but you haven't verbalized
Yeah.
either one of those boundaries because
You're still
It's
exploring
literally
things are
never
never
your
happened.
boundaries.
Yeah.
You're
To be
still
honest, you're right. That's how you discovered the boundary.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you set it from there.
Yeah.
Now you
and
set
at
it
that
from
point
then
you
on.
cannot
Yeah.
be too upset with the repercussions or the outcome of that
No, but
that
that's what
boundary
but
crossing
that's what,
because
exactly.
you've now come back and gone, okay, how do we feel about this?
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
that
Going
goes-
forward,
that was my
you
point.
put things in place.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Don't create the boundary in that moment and then get upset at the person
That's fair.
for crossing that boundary because
That's
it
fair.
wasn't a boundary up until that moment. Set the boundary from then and then judge them against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Sorry, Instagram. Our Instagram is popping off. Hello, everybody over there.
Hello, guys.
So we have Els Up in Christ.
Hey, yo,
has
Els
said-
Up. What's good?
Hey.
Els Up in
Welcome
Christ
back.
is in the building. Els Up said the guy behind the camera is talking a lot of sense.
Hey! How's that? Welcome. Yes.
I almost wasn't gonna read it.
Why?
Focus,
Why
man.
did
He
you-
needed that.
Oh,
He needed that
no.
because it's been hot today. It's been hot.
Hannah said, is there such a thing as soft boundaries and hard boundaries?
That I feel the thing is, a boundary is a boundary. If someone crosses a boundary to you, you then do get hurt. Regardless, you might not have a repercussion for that boundary, but it is a boundary that can still hurt you. It's like I don't even know what a soft boundary would
Yeah,
be.
that's what I was
but
going to
What
say.
about-
What
I
is
don't
that?
think-
I don't
How do
think
you
you can
define
have
a
a
Maybe
soft
like a
Yeah.
soft
and a
one
hard?
that you set. Like, so is it like you set a soft boundary?
Wait,
Well, in
Hannah,
terms-
that mean?
Hannah, can you say what you mean by soft boundary? 'Cause
Yeah.
for me, if it's
Or
a
an
soft boundary,
give us an
I
example.
could break that week in,
then
week
it's
out.
not a boundary. Because if it's soft, you're inviting me
To break
cross
it.
that
Don't do it.
line. Especially because some boundaries, the other person doesn't actually agree in that situation. So
yeah.
they are actively trying to push that boundary. They're trying
Yeah.
to test that boundary.
Yeah.
So if you're setting soft boundaries, your wall is made of sand. It's not an actual
I'll blow it down.
Yeah.
wall. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Okay, so does the other person have to agree for it to be a boundary? Does the other person have to agree
The
on
person
the
don't
boundary?
have to
Because as
agree,
you
but they
said-
just need to know that
No.
that it exists.
Yeah.
That,
So
that
dancing with
boundary.
somebody at a event, your wife, husband, wives, because you guys got wives.
Yeah.
Like if you set the boundary about not dancing with others and stuff like that, would that be kind of like a soft boundary? If they just
that's a
they had
boundary.
That's
That
a
is
that's a
that's
an
a hard
unspoken
boundary.
There's a difference of
That's
like
a
doing
hard
like
boundary if
salsa.
it's
unspoken.
You
wait.
you might not
Come on now.
mind.
That is a hard boundary.
Wait, but you might
Impossible.
not mind. The soft boundary might be.
Does
like,
it depend
you
on
don't-
the
You don't mind if
dancing?
you dance like
You
two
can
steps
dance
Yeah,
with
like
your
if it's
friend.
whining,
But if
then
they're
I
like
get
whining
it.
and backing it up
Yeah.
on somebody, that's probably a hard boundary.
If it's a
hardest
circle,
kind of boundary.
if it's
Diamond.
a circle,
That
and
boundary's
there's
made
like
of
5 people in it.
diamonds. Nah, man. No, thank you.
Wait,
know.
Oh, Hannah has actually
you said
told
it's
us.
an unspoken boundary.
No, but that's
so
but the
is
thing
that
is,
a boundary?
have you ever spoken to Steph about that?
So
Have you
this is
gone-
what I'm saying.
So you're
This is-
relying on
so-
respect
no,
again.
but this is
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying to you.
That should
It
be
might
one
not
of
be
your
that
boundaries.
There are some boundaries. The problem is people are not living their boundaries. People are not like Steph knows that would never fly. I don't need
I
to
could
say
never
that
fly.
to her,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's because of all our other interactions,
Right,
all of
right.
our other behaviors.
Yeah.
You actually need to live out your
Yeah,
boundary.
yeah.
Let
I hear
this
that.
person actually see what you stand for, and that's a problem. People in this society don't outwardly stand for anything, or there's a lot of contradictions in the way as Christians, we say we're Christians, we stand for Christ, but then we're in the club dirty whining on someone else's wife. You know what I'm
Live in the
saying?
grave. Wow. Live in the grave.
At the end of the day, if you don't actually stand for
Yeah.
the thing that you say you stand for,
Yeah.
everyone's going to be confused about what boundaries they can cross and what boundaries they can't cross. So I think it's actually really important that if this is going to be a boundary for you, live it out. That you don't even need to say it. And people know this person, this is a boundary for them. Like that's really living with integrity, I would say.
I hear that.
Yeah, I get that. 100%.
What did Hannah say about
Yeah.
the soft boundary?
Hannah said she had heard someone say it before. So she wanted to know if it was like a thing, but it makes sense what we're saying. Like it sounds like someone can cross it, to be fair. So actually she was just asking the question.
Because
But
it could
yeah.
truly be if someone came, like if in the relationship someone's like, oh, I'm gonna have a soft, like this is a boundary,
soft
but it's like
boundary.
it's not a real boundary. It's like a boundary.
It's
Yeah.
just a soft
Yeah.
boundary is basically just things that
I
will
don't
upset
approve
you,
of.
but I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
something I don't approve of.
Upset you, but I don't necessarily have like a repercussion. It's not
Yeah.
a deal breaker for me.
We're not
essentially.
breaking up because
Yeah.
of it.
So I don't think. Yeah, it's the same thing.
But it's a notch
No.
on you.
Can
But
I
it's a notch on you. And
Oh,
I've
is it like
remembered
you're
So
it.
if you get
But
10
love
of them,
keeps no record of wrong.
Love does keep no record of wrongs.
Wait, I
You
don't know
are
if you're going
correct.
into it, but can I ask the question about like insecurities and whether
that is the next one on
Okay,
there.
cool.
Yeah, go like. Do you wanna
No,
announce
you
it?
ask it. You ask it. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm gonna go for the whole question. So how do you define? Wait. This is the one you wrote quick. Wrong, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, it's
it's
not.
not.
Should I read it? I've got it here.
Yeah, go for it.
How do you differentiate between a healthy boundary and one born out of insecurity?
It's true. But then again, can they say dancing with like your partner dancing with someone else can be held through insecurity, and that's the reason why we don't agree with it?
Nah.
100%, bro.
I don't
Me
even want
and
to
you both.
entertain this.
I know.
I'm sorry. I don't even want to entertain this. This has nothing to do with insecurity. You are
just
not
wrong.
dirty whining on another man. I'm sorry to say.
Why are you insecure, Tolly?
That
Why are
is-
you insecure, Tolly?
Bro, I
You
hear
know what?
insecurity
I'll
there.
take it. I'll take it.
I was
Call me
waiting for that.
insecure. Call me whatever, but that is not flying. I'm sorry.
You just don't trust her.
No.
You don't trust what you have.
Dirty wine.
I'm sorry. But okay, you know what? Different people have different thresholds.
Nah,
No,
no,
no.
I
There's
would
no-
not be
That's
okay with
wisdom.
that at all,
No,
Tolly.
but there is-
I
there is
know I'm
wisdom.
mocking, but I'm completely with
No,
you.
but there is no. There's actual people
I will
out
not
there
be dirty
that is
whining on
okay
someone else.
I'm not
with
doing
their
it, so why are you
partners
doing it?
going, not crossing that line, but they're able to go and enjoy themselves out there. Go club. Go have all the fun you want.
Yeah,
And then
Is it
no,
okay?
no.
Different thing.
Dance
Is
with
it okay if
no,
they dirty
dance with
wine
bare man.
alone?
Dance with all the
Dance
people.
with
Them.
bare man.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There's people out there that's okay. Go
No
dance with the
say.
man.
Where
them and
are
all them.
these people?
Yo, you
I
can
don't
find
know
the
these
people out there.
There's some people.
I don't
like
know
that.
these
They
people,
are-
but
they
there
are.
is people
Yeah,
out there.
it's-
You know what?
It's like it's not
More
deep for
power
them.
to them. More
Yeah,
power
if
to
you
them.
if you've got that much trust in your in the secondary
If that's the
person,
situation you're in, then
No.
I don't think that's wise.
I'm
It's
just
not
going to
wise.
put
I
that
don't
out
think
there.
that's
It's not the
wisdom.
situation
That's
I
what it
want to
comes
be
down
in.
to. It's not wisdom
So it's not
for
a
you to be
question
putting
about
yourself
boundaries.
in certain
For
situations.
them, they're not willing to do that. But I'm just saying, I don't think that that's the right way of conducting yourself with in a marriage or even in a relationship.
in a relationship,
Yeah.
Even in a
full stop.
relationship.
And that's
So-
not an insecurity thing. That's just you're putting healthy boundaries in place so that you don't put yourself in certain positions, like compromising positions.
But so just
But if the reason the person is now saying that is because this has happened in the past and it's led to someone cheating, obviously they're a little bit insecure by that. So is that insecurity or like where does that
exactly,
fall?
and
I feel that would
think
be an
that is
insecurity
more-
then.
And you know, I was
Yeah.
listening to Jackie Hill Perry, another guru,
Guru.
and they were talking about her and Preston, her husband. They were talking about how a lot of things that you react to is usually because of past trauma or past
course.
hurt, and then you kind of put that on your current partner.
Yeah.
And like you need to really understand when that's happening, and really like it might even be that thing that you're hurt about is a good thing, but if you've not dealt with the past hurt, you might react even worse than you would normally have. So I think there are some boundaries that we might actually, it's a question, to be honest with you. Is it right to put boundaries on a new partner based on what's happened to you in the past, even though that
okay.
new partner might not have demonstrated any of those traits?
I feel that you should have don't get rid of your insecurities fully into a new relationship. You, of course, it's a clean slate, but don't forget your past.
No, but insecurity by definition means it's not like I see insecurities as things
healthy.
that are not true.
Not true.
They're like, but
But
you
you
feel it.
can-
You feel it. It's very real to you. It's very real.
But you can
Okay.
learn from your
You
experience.
can learn from
right?
the experience and don't
So
change.
that's what
Don't
you do. Not
don't
the-
prosecute your new for your old's mistakes.
So, but like, if you had an old partner that used to hang out with loads of girls and blah, blah, ended
Yeah.
up cheating on them, cheating on you, but then you have a new partner, a really good person, is in a choir, so there's women around.
What?
You know.
The drama in the choir.
Choir is the place this happens. All goes
Drama
down.
boy.
So I'm just saying, you have
I
a
don't
new
trust
partner
choirs anyway.
in the choir.
Tony said choir is the place it all goes
100%,
down in the
100%,
church.
100%.
I don't, you're not wrong.
Totally.
Yeah, so is it now right for you to say to that new partner,
You can't have
actually,
too
you
many
can't
girls.
have too many female friends? In fact, come up that choir, go and be in the
I mean,
prayer,
this is
join the prayer
extreme.
team.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Which is probably full of women as well.
Yeah.
The whole
Old-
church is full
older
of women.
women. Older
So
women.
We
Older
have
women, I
had that
guess.
Older
conversation
women,
that the
usually,
church
prayer
is full
team.
of women and there's no men in the church.
why do you think he
But-
can't be attracted to older women?
this is a boundary. This is a boundary for me, Rachel. Don't question me. This is a boundary. Anyways, but you get what I'm trying to say.
No,
You
but
get
the
what I'm
thing
trying
is
to
that
say.
it would make you feel like
On
that
edge.
though. You
Yeah.
would make
Yeah.
you feel on edge. I think
Yeah.
it's about communicating
Yeah.
the fact that listen, I have had in my previous relationship, my partner had loads of female friends, and this is what happens. So now I'm very skeptical when I'm with somebody new, with you, and you have a lot of female friends. This is a little bit triggering for me. And I think what would be good would be for that person to kind of understand and just maybe make it more of an open thing for you to make you feel more comfortable with their female friends, you know? So maybe they let you know when they're around, or, you know, just they're very, when it comes to that specific subject, for the time being, even though no one wants to be answering to anybody, but to make your partner feel comfortable, you let them know, oh, I'm going to a birthday. The thing is you might say, I'm going to a birthday. Oh, whose birthday is it? A friend. But they don't specify that it's a female friend. So now I'm on edge because why didn't you specify that it was a female friend? What's happening? You see what I'm saying? Like, those are the kinds of little things that from the other person's perspective might be like, but why do I need to tell you, it's my friend? But it's like, no, but that's quite triggering for me.
Yeah.
So for this time, I just need you to help me along with this because it's something that triggers me. I'm not trying to make you answer to me like I'm your parent, but help me out here, you know?
So that scenario, so basically you said that you would be getting triggered because he's got a lot of female friends and your ex-partner also had a lot of female friends. But your new guy, would it make it easier if he broke that wall down, as in, yo, come and chill with me, see my
Invite me
friends,
in.
meet my friends.
Yeah.
No, but for a lot
Yes,
of
it
women,
would.
I know actual women that I'm not interested in your friends. I'm telling you, I don't want you to. Why do you need female friends as a man? I've heard that.
Well, I mean,
No,
I
I
spoke
think
about
that's
the
not
ideal,
wise.
right? Like,
But-
this is how it should be.
So what happens in that?
No,
does that
I
exist?
think if
I thought
you,
that won't be
if you have acknowledged that this is an insecurity, I think you have to work on that within yourself. And I don't think it's healthy for you as a female in a relationship to be telling your partner you can't have these friends, because it's only going to lead to basically
Sneaking
more problems,
around,
him sneaking around.
yeah.
So I think the ideal situation is that if he is willing for you, well, he should be willing for you to get to know his friends, to be more transparent about his friends. Because if you're going to go into a marriage anyway, like, I personally think that you should be open with all your friends. I don't need to be your best friend, but I should at least know who my partner is hanging out with.
Yeah.
As like, he should know who I'm hanging around with, and there should be a certain level of comfortability there as well. So it would be incredibly unwise, in my personal opinion, for you to say, "No, you can't do that."
I think it's different when the guy is extremely close to a female friend. I think that's where it can get a bit techie, because it's like you're almost competing for time, emotion, attention. If your partner that you're in an active relationship with also has this close female friend, I think there needs to be that natural distancing when you're in a relationship, because I again think that's wisdom. Like, why would you want to hold two females at the same, like you're only in a relationship with one, so you should
I say
should
that
act accordingly.
So I know
sometimes, but then I always think of how Tolu's my best bud. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And no one's
Exactly.
gonna
It's not.
say that.
It's a different relationship.
No one's
Yeah.
gonna say that
Yeah.
Like, I think you can have a different.
Tolu
relationship.
can't can no longer be my best mate.
So if me and Tadayo, it's even gross trying to say this. Like, we were like all touchy feeling with each other,
Don't
and
say it,
you
bro.
know what I'm saying? And I think it's different. But if the relationship is fully banter, like Steph knows there's some banter that I probably enjoy more with Tadio than with her, even. Like, and that's not deep. Like, it's different banter. Steph knows there's banter that I enjoy with my sister more than her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I share with Steph, I definitely don't share with anybody else.
Nah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
a different thing. But
true.
I don't know if you have to say, like, you can't have a really close friend. I do get what you're saying about wisdom, though.
Yes.
Like, if you see a situation
This,
where maybe it's a bit ropey, maybe you lot fancied each other back in the day or something. I don't know. Something. An ex-boyfriend
Yeah,
Nah.
those
That's-
they need to
that's-
be
Oh,
tied up,
okay.
tied up and thrown
Can't
out.
be
For
friends
me-
with exes.
No, you can be friends, but not as close
Close,
as
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were.
yeah.
Those
Right,
exes
yeah.
can't be around your house
Ex-boyfriend,
day in day out.
No,
Yeah,
no.
nah.
We've talked
Like-
about
Who even
them.
has time?
You got you can say hi on Facebook.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
I'm not mad
Yeah.
at it. I'm not
Can't
mad
be on
at
the
it.
phone though.
Oh,
Why
come
No.
on.
Why you
What are
calling
you
it?
talking
Why?
about?
Why you calling it?
For what
Why?
reason?
Why?
No, for what reason? What are you talking
Oh
about?
really?
No,
Oh,
no, what are you
really
talking about?
alone here?
Like,
yeah,
no,
you
no,
put that on
are.
loudspeaker.
Oh.
Would you
I
be
want
okay
all
with
phone calls on
your,
loudspeaker
with your
from now on.
partner
I-
talking to their
The thing
ex-girlfriend?
is,
No,
is
wait.
that I have to be because I know that I have exes that I am friends with.
Wait, Tadio. I just want to clarify. Just
Do you know what I mean?
Tadio,
So I
we're not-
can't tell you
Tadio.
that you can't do something if I know that I'm also.
But they may
doing
be
that thing.
uncomfortable with that.
But Tadio,
Yeah, and if
I
they
wanna
are, and
ask you.
if they are, then we address
have
it
to
at
No,
that
but
point.
Tadio, I want to ask you, like, you don't. Are you talking about just like 5 minutes? I saw you at that party the other day. How you doing? How's the family?
Nah,
are you
coffee
talking
on
about
the phone?
at
You
11,
meeting up.
11 p.m. We're
Not at
talking
11 p.m.
for
Don't
an
call me
hour
after 9.
on the phone. We're going for dinner.
9? Don't call me after 7 p.m, bruv.
That's actually true.
You-
Don't call me
Just
after
don't
6.
call me.
Would
Once
you go
finish,
for
you should be
dinner
as
with
well.
your ex?
I have done.
In a
I've
re-
done
whilst
Whilst
you're
you're in a relationship.
Nah.
Yeah, that's
nah,
techie,
nah,
that's
nah,
techie.
nah,
No,
nah,
I
nah,
haven't
nah,
done
nah.
that.
Then
That's
But
techie.
they are like I have
drawn
been.
that boundary, and you know that line.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I've been cinema with somebody that was my ex before while I was in a relationship. I think I might have been.
Well,
Did they
if you were
know? I don't
dating
know.
me, you'd be
Did
my
you-
ex too right now.
I would be the
Did
same
they
boat as
know?
him.
Maybe not actually. When I think about it, actually, maybe sometimes when I am now in a relationship, I guess I naturally I'm not maybe
You draw lines.
Yeah.
maybe not consciously. I think
Subconsciously,
maybe
yeah.
subconsciously I might be a bit more. But honestly, I do have friends who were my exes. I say exes, but yeah, I've got one or two exes that are friends, and a specific one that is now a very good friend, and it's literally nothing. I can only be friends with an ex if I know within myself there's literally nothing can ever happen, or you've hurt me to the point where I don't even want to be your friend because you're not even a good friend. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know the thing? Like now we're actually talking boundaries, right? I think the wisdom in boundaries is recognizing that your relationship with your partner, even if you completely trust each other, even if you literally genuinely trust each other, there's not actually an issue there. Recognizing that there will be times where you hate each other's guts, or when the other person might hurt you to such a degree that you actually want to hurt them back. In those moments, you're not thinking clearly. So even if you're saying to yourself, yeah, I know this is my ex, we're friends, we get it, blah, 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 blah. In a moment where you're feeling unheard, unseen, you want that from someone. This is someone who's giving you that in the past. You will be naturally attracted to that person and they might give you that thing. And for me, it's not a thing about trust or like insecurity. It's just about recognizing the reality of marriage and the fact that there are some difficult times. And in those difficult times, you don't want to give yourself easy outs. You want to make it difficult enough for you to come back to your senses before you do something that you're going to regret. But if you don't have certain boundaries in place, if you think it's okay for them to still be going to a strip club or, do you know what I'm just saying? When something happens, that's where they're going first, is what I'm saying. So that's, for me, is the wisdom and boundaries. I think people think that you're being excessive. And actually, yeah, in good times, you might be being a bit excessive, but you're planning towards the bad times, is what I think. Yeah.
We've got some comments here. So Nigel says, why does an ex want to link up for drinks?
You know what I'm saying?
Thinking
Legit.
emoji.
You know what I'm saying, Nigel? Yes.
Shit.
And Pam,
Not in my household.
Pam said, but sometimes with an ex who is just a friend, we need to think about how it may make our partner feel, not giving any room for drama.
That's it.
I
That's
agree
it.
with Tolu for once. Pam
For
said.
once, Pam. For once.
That's it.
For once. I'm glad still. I'm glad that you agree with me, though.
Yeah, no, I think I guess it makes sense. Yeah.
So stop
Stop
seeing
it.
that
Because
friend.
if your partner's
Stop
not
seeing
comfortable
that
with
friend,
it,
B,
it's gonna
I'm
cause
saying.
friction. It's
You
gonna
need to
cause
stop seeing that
something.
friend.
No, 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 no. I'm definitely somebody who, if it makes my partner uncomfortable, then yeah. And if I was uncomfortable, I would do what I would like to be done to me. Because that's what I'm saying. I can never say something to you. If you have, I always have to try and transport my mind into being on the other side. So if you have a friend, a female friend that is super close to you, right? And I'm thinking this is making me feel very uncomfortable. And even though you say you don't care about the fact that I'm besties with Tolu, I have to also think, oh, I can't really set that boundary
Double
because
standards.
I'm not living that boundary.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't tell you can't have your best female friend if I have a best guy friend.
I
Yeah.
disagree with
I
that.
can't. I mean,
I
do
think
you?
there's different people
I
have
don't feel
different...
like I can set it if I
Nah.
have it. So
Because I think Steph and I have this exact same thing. Like, because I give a lot more vim about what I tolerate and don't tolerate. But Steph is very lenient with me. I have more female friends than male friends. And that's what she's okay with. And that's what I'm not okay with. And that's cool. There's other things that Steph's not okay with, like shouting and raising your voice, that I don't do. If Steph shouts at me, I'm not trying to go to my mum's house. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Because your
I
mum's house is in
That's not
Manchester.
living the boundary.
no, but you're living your boundary. You're living. You need to be true. Like I don't think anyone here is of any confusion about my opinion on a particular thing.
Wait. So
But
do you
you-
think it would be unfair? Let me get this right in my head. In that example that Taz has just given, for her partner who doesn't actually mind that you guys are best friend, just because she has said I'm uncomfortable with this, but to then turn around and say, "Now you have to give up your friendship with Tolu."
Exactly. That's what I'm disagreeing with.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
that's. I don't think
'Cause
that's
if
right.
he actually
Because
doesn't
that's
mind
not
at
real.
all,
That's not a. That's
then-
not. That's not
But
true
I-
to
but
that
it's
person.
not-
Double
that's not-
standards.
No,
though.
what's the
No, but
double
it's not a
standard?
true boundary for
Like,
him.
why-
He's just being petty. in
Exactly.
that
Why do we
moment.
think that everything that applies to me has to apply to you?
Because you treat others how you want to be treated.
But
Yeah,
the
but
pers-
if it
the
doesn't
per-
actually matter to
exactly,
me, that's
like it's the ball is in the partner's court. It's the partner to decide whether this thing bothers me or not. If it doesn't bother me, I don't need you to do the same thing to me.
I just don't feel
I
right
don't
saying
think.
that.
Yeah,
but
I'm
that's
of the
different.
same
If you
opinion.
don't
I
feel
think
right,
you're living a
that's
lie if you
fine.
do that.
Why?
Because
How?
you're saying one
Where's
thing,
this
but you're living a
bothering me?
different
But
life.
we are all different human beings. We all have different pasts. Like we just talked about the fact that there might be things in your past that is causing you to have a potential insecurity about something that you know might not even be rational, but that's how you feel in the moment. To be honest with you, some of my stuff might be insecurity, might be irrational. And she doesn't have that same irrationality. She doesn't have that same insecurity. So why should she then import that on herself just so that we're equal in the situation? I think that's not like recognizing each other's strengths.
I get
Yeah,
what
I-
you're saying.
I
I
get
understand.
it.
I understand. No,
I do
I
get
actually agree
it.
with you totally. Like, as
I
in,
get it.
I feel
if
like
I
get
do
it.
if I do one thing and I don't feel comfortable, like I have these type of friends, and you are going to go and find yourself these types of friends because I have these types of friends, then I feel uncomfortable because you've gone and found these types of friends for you to do it. Then
Why are you being petty for?
yeah,
I feel
legit,
like
like,
the solution in that situation isn't necessarily for your partner to turn around and say, well, then you can't have Tolu as a friend. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, that you then he needs to understand, or you both need
where
to
the
discuss
relationship is.
why do you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah,
What sort
yeah.
of things are you doing to make me feel
Yeah.
to make me feel uncomfortable? And how do we resolve this? Like, I'm happy because my relationship with Tolu is so open. If you ever want to come and be involved in that relationship, all power to you. Like, do you get what I mean? So if
In
that's
fact, I even want you to.
yeah, exactly. So if you then he then needs to open up
Like-
his relationship to you so that you can get to know his female best friend. Like, I don't think the solution is to turn around and say, no, you can't have him. Let's have a real conversation about what the issues are and how we move forward.
I just think that that's such a like
That's an adult way of handling
and,
it.
and,
isn't
and
it?
that's how iron
It's the grown-up
sharpens
way.
iron. Like, how do you
Yeah.
help the other person if you take on their potential issues instead of you kind of being own to your strength? Like, I really value, like, Steph is all the things that about me that I find insecure, blah blah blah. Steph has none of that, and I think that's great. I love that. I want to be with someone like that because maybe that might sharpen me a bit, you know. So I definitely don't think you should be looking to try and make everything equal unless it bothers you. If it actually bothers you,
then that's different.
then that's different.
Yeah.
That's a boundary
That's
that
actually
needs to be
different.
Yeah.
And you can change your mind down the line. If you see that actually this person is doing it and it's a double standard, blah, 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 and it starts to bother you, fair enough. But if you're genuinely okay with it, I actually don't see...
you just need to remain true to how you feel. And I think that's it. Like, we shouldn't be trying to one-up each other. We shouldn't be trying to, like, it leads to an unhealthy relationship.
And that's where that point, again, with boundaries, you need to remember, you're not... The objective isn't trying to change the other person. The objective is making it clear to the other person what you won't tolerate and where you won't go. It's very much about you. When you start making it about the other person and it becomes you trying to change your spouse or you trying to change your partner, and that becomes a different kettle of fish that can be very unhealthy. So I think if you have a boundary, it has to be because of your values.
Your values, yeah.
Like something you deeply care about. It can't be,
it needs
I
to
don't know
be.
if we're saying the same thing then.
No, but I feel that I feel boundaries are personal to you yourself. You can't input your boundaries onto. You can't try and imprint your boundaries onto someone else. You have your own personal boundaries, as in you. Yeah, so you can't make someone else feel your boundary.
No,
you just gotta make them understand your boundary and then
the consequence.
agree to your
terms.
Yeah. So understand my boundary, agree to my terms, and this relationship will go forward.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think where I was coming from on the double standards point, like just going back to the example of I'm not comfortable with someone shouting at me. If I now started shouting at someone else, that to me just screams hypocrite, because you're now doing what you don't want someone to do to you. That's where I feel the double standards come in, because you're not living out and it goes back to your point about living your boundary. Like, you're not doing that very thing that you expect someone else to do to you. So how does this... You're disrespecting your own boundary by doing it.
So I think there are different types of boundaries.
I feel that there is a line on boundaries that you... Yeah.
In that one, the thing that you don't like is someone shouting at someone calling someone names, someone doing all that stuff. So if someone does it to you and you're upset, you shouldn't do that to someone else. But when it's a boundary to try and prevent a particular behavior or a particular type of hurt that is external to you, I think it's different. So you're right. I don't think it's a blanket statement. There are some things that, yes, you should just live out. But in that specific example that we talked about, you have certain insecurities that mean that you feel a way when you see someone with your partner. You know that might not be right. And even if whatever it is, we're respecting your boundary. If the partner doesn't feel that way, that's their choice.
Yeah.
Like,
I hear you.
it's not what you're doing to them. That's what I'm saying. Like, because the shouting one, it would be you shouting at them. But in this one, it's them deciding this is okay with me.
Yeah.
If I somehow projected that to them, then it would be the same thing. It would be a double standard. But it's not me doing the action. It's them deciding that.
And
it's
it's also okay for you in that situation to say that I feel like I'm being a hypocrite, therefore I'm going to step back from this relationship. That's okay, but it's not that person telling you to do it if they're fine with it. Do you get what I mean? If you feel like you're being a hypocrite, all power to you. Cut your relationship. If that's what's going to make you feel comfortable, and that's what's going to make you feel comfortable telling your partner, I don't feel okay with this. But it's not your partner telling you to cut ties even when they don't have an issue with it. I think those are different things. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It's petty, isn't it?
It was different things that no, that all makes sense.
I think
Els Up in Christ says the guy behind the camera Well done today.
What
Man-
is it in slow-mo?
Man of the episode
Because
today.
it's burning her to say it. She's like, oh,
Legit.
I want to meet up with Els Up. Like, Els Up needs to come onto our podcast. Like, for real, for real. Els Up, like, DM us your details. We need to talk. We need to talk. Yeah. We need to talk. We need to talk. If you're in the London area, we'll make something happen. For real.
Oh gosh.
I think we've hit all points, guys. I think that was quite a nice conversation and figuring out boundaries and where boundaries should stand and where in a relationship a boundary should be. Any final thoughts from anyone just to wrap out? Because I feel that we've wrapped up everything and given it a nice bow.
Totally, you want to hit us with your gurus
Innit,
3
your
points
I'm
guru
looking
just
points.
to
at
end?
my points just to.
Oh.
I think I've hit them all. I
Just-
think
hit them
I-
all.
Yeah.
Just give us
I
your
think
3
I've hit
points
them all.
again.
So there's three things to setting an effective boundary.
Yeah,
Yes.
You need to like your reason for your boundary, actually believe in it,
Okay.
and live it out. You need to communicate the boundary. But I think through the conversation we discussed that you might not know
You
it's
might
a
not know
boundary
it.
until it happens.
Yeah.
But once you've discovered it, set the boundary
And
and
communicate.
communicate it. And communicate the consequence if you can. Even if that consequence is, I'm gonna do something drastic. I just think there needs to be something that will happen as a result of this thing for it to be an effective boundary in terms of behavior modification. And then number 3, actually follow through with that thing. If it's actually, if you actually want it to be a real deterrent or to actually change the person, and you have to be consistent. There is no such, like, they've done studies on mice where they get them to go and try and check a hole for some food, and every time they go to that hole, if there is no food there, the mouse will stop going. But if they just put food once, the mouse will keep trying to the point of death because it's thinking it will still come.
Yeah.
It will still come because it happened one time. I was allowed to get it one time. So I really butchered that analogy.
No, I get the
Yeah,
analogy.
but-
I get
I'm
it.
with you.
I get
Yeah,
it.
but we get it. Yeah.
So that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like, if it's an actual boundary and not just something that you feel about,
Yeah.
a soft boundary as we talked about.
The soft
If it's
boundary
an
doesn't
actual
exist.
thing that if the person crosses this line, it's gonna affect me in an adverse way, and I do not want to feel that. You have to follow through. Otherwise, you will really get into a situation. Actually, one thing that I thought was so interesting, we didn't talk about boundaries in sex in particular, but apparently in marriages, relationship, like, sex is usually like a big tool that people use against each other in this way. Like, women saying, if you don't do this and this and that, I won't give you sex. So the guy is trying to do all these things. Like, it just causes a lot of issues when you start to introduce these kind of boundaries
Physical
into
punishments.
situation. Because, yeah, anyways. Guys, I'll send
another
you links.
conversation.
I'll
Isn't
send
that a
you links to my
repercussion?
group.
Anyway,
Another
that's
It's a
a different
repercussion of
conversation.
not following a rule, and there should be that boundary drawn within a marriage that you will not withhold said.
And that's biblical.
Can I?
Yeah,
can I,
it is.
Can I,
It is.
guys,
But,
It's-
but,
can I ask you guys-
but it's emotional too, isn't it?
Can I ask
'Cause
you guys a
we've
jokes
all-
question?
A what question?
I don't know if
Let's
it's
on a
jokes,
joke
but, like,
question.
are you allowed to set in marriage, Christian marriage, any sexual boundaries with your partner?
What do you mean? As in,
Like the no-go areas?
yeah.
What, introduce,
Why
like,
not?
bringing someone else into your marriage.
No.
You should not be trying to do
You
that.
said what are the
Like,
boundaries?
no,
You
no,
said
okay,
what are the
yeah, yeah,
boundaries?
No, I'm just saying, like,
You mean like? Are we gonna be?
We're already
yeah?
there. We're
All right,
already
cool.
there.
We're not
You
there.
mean
We're not there
toys?
100%.
You mean like
Things
toys?
like that,
yeah,
you
things
mean
like
like
that. Yeah, that one.
Wait, what did Tad say?
Toys.
things like
or
toys?
things like that, like
I think it's with
other
you and
organs
your
that weren't created for it necessarily.
yes. I mean yes. I think that it's between you and your
It's
Yeah,
between
I
you
think
guys.
so too.
But someone
It is
has
a boundary
said that thing of your body is not yours, your body belongs to them.
wow.
So, hey,
So they
I'm
can
not,
do anything.
Okay, let's
No.
no.
I'm not
no.
saying that. I disagree with it.
Wait, finish your sentence.
No,
I'm
you did.
asking.
Even
No,
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, neither do
finished
I.
it.
Neither do I, just to be clear. I don't know if I don't agree. I'm just scared.
If you see the way that Tolu is sweating right now,
No, I'm just trying to say, like, even in terms of no, even in terms of withholding, that's just normal stuff.
Yeah.
Withholding sex from your partner because they didn't do XYZ or because blah blah blah. That's not allowed, right?
That's not allowed.
I mean, you're not
Kinda
supposed
made
to,
a good
but
point.
it can be right. Like,
Go
so
for
for
it.
sex for men and women can be a little bit different, right?
Mhm.
It's an emotional thing for us, you know, like, so for example, now she might be withholding, but not that she's withholding because she's just withholding. It's because she's emotionally not connected. You've done something that has
Yeah.
hurt her, and so she can't now
I don't
have sex
I don't
with you.
want to.
She
Like,
doesn't want
yeah.
to now because you've not. Whereas for you, you might be upset, but you still want to get yours, whether or not you're upset or not.
Ours,
You're
get
just
ours, like give and take. I'm not trying to just get
Get-
mine.
well, yeah, okay. I can't say
We
hours,
can both enjoy this. We can
but
both.
you still want to do what you want to do because you can still have sex even if you're. Well, this is very blanket and very, but a lot of men can still have sex even when they are upset because it's very physical. Whereas sex for women, for a lot of women, starts even before the act is actually starting. It's when you've already you've washed those plates. Oh, you washed those plates. Oh, he took that rubbish out. Like, I don't know, not like that, but like
I
just
do
the
the
little
above.
things.
I
It's
do all
like
the
little
above.
things. It
Does
can
not
be
translate.
little things before. Like I've just only used like some funny examples, but like it starts sometimes before. It's like you're emotionally there, right?
I
And
get
if
you,
you're
I
not
get you.
emotionally there, you cannot get yourself to a place where you want to emotionally connect now. So that's what's going to be the.
This is a whole.
It's a
other
different-
It is
I
a
think
whole
it's a
other
whole
conversation.
different- I think it's a
We
different
can have this
conversation.
conversation another day.
Yeah.
These conversations
Because
were
we
wanting
didn't
to
even
have
get
been
into
having.
boundaries with parents. We didn't even get
But-
into that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
we
not
didn't.
go there today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to just thank everybody for coming out and for staying in and watching us and
Yes.
coming out and coming down. But yeah, this conversation was great. I think I've learned quite a bit. But yeah, I want to just thank you guys for watching. Like
Yes.
and subscribe
Like
and
and
tell a friend.
subscribe.
And also,
Really great comments and contributions from
Thank
legit,
you,
the people.
everyone
guys.
Round of
today.
applause to
Yes.
everybody in the comments.
Really good.
Thank you
You
for
guys
all
were
of
on
you
it.
in the comments.
I like it a lot.
Thank you
Um,
guys. I enjoyed this discussion. I
Yeah,
wasn't
me
sure about
too.
it at first.
Yeah.
But,
Tolly
you know,
was nuts.
I
Tolly
really
was
enjoyed
nuts.
it. I
But
really
he
enjoyed it.
went
I
and
really
listened
enjoyed
to
it.
his gurus and
I
he's
listened
all
to
right
my
now.
gurus and yeah.
Yeah, guys. But yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks
That
for
was in
watching.
another place. That was in
Fine.
another place.
I was different. I looked at myself in the camera. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, guys.
All right, this is y'all. This was
weeks.
fun.
Bye.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Deuces.
Bye.
Catch you later.